Welcome, guys, to episode number 13 of the Building Thriving Lifestyles podcast. I'm your host, Gilotottir, and as you know, I love to help grow stronger and better humans by challenging myself and others both intellectually, physically, and spiritually. On today's episode, we are going to talk about how much exercise do you actually need, as in how many times a week and how long do you need to exercise to get that post-workout boost, that goody-goody feeling that makes us all feel good. This podcast is brought to you by Touch. Touch is a very unique talent management agency based out of Dubai, but they manage talents all over the world. Touch's mission is to make sure that the talents across all industries get paid for their work and stop this collaboration culture. They do work with all kinds of talents, ranging from people of determination or with disabilities to celebrity chefs, and work on creating equal opportunities for fitness, further education, mentorships, and all the rest. If you want to check out Touch, make sure to find all their links on my website under partners, and then you'll be able to find them on LinkedIn and everywhere else. So one of the reasons why I wanted to dive into this topic today, as in terms of how much exercise do you need to get that feel-good feeling, is because the most common misconception that I hear about workouts is that it needs to be super long, super grueling, and it needs to leave you in a sweaty mess lying on the floor, feeling horrendous to be effective. While I know it's always fun when it's done, then having this kind of an expectation that you always need to go all out and do something really hard can actually make getting started to work out feel very daunting and demotivating. I know there are more of us out there, not just me, who quote unquote is a retired athlete now, that want to just use our workouts to boost our mood, make sure that we kind of break up our day, have some moments of play in our days to increase our productivity and make us a better human all in all. But if you think about workouts as this mentioned before, this grueling task that has to leave you depleted, it can start to be very hard to get into the routine. But it's completely possible to design your workout routine in such a way that you're working out frequently enough and long enough so you can finish every workout feeling like you're on top of the world, ready to take on any task, and you can dive back into your to-do list. So let's have a look. So here's what I found. There are actually some scientific reasons behind this, and in this blog post we're going to dive into more of these mechanisms that are at play here and find out at least how much exercise we need to turn into this good feeling, this invisible vibe, something that happens on the inside, and how you can start to use it for your advantage. Most of us, we are aware of the good things that happen in our body when we exercise. We are working on building our muscles, strengthening our stamina, and so on and so forth. Yet a lot of people are not aware of what happens in our brain and regarding our moods when we exercise. Yes, we can say the most common line, which is we have some endorphins released in our body, but are you really aware of what that really means and how this affects you? After listening to today's podcast, I hope you have it crystal clear, and I hope you kind of know a little bit more about what happens inside your body when you engage in exercise and workouts. Every time when you start exercising, your brain recognizes this as a moment of stress. Your heart rate starts to increase, the brain thinks you're either fighting the enemy or fleeing away from an enemy, and to protect yourself, your body and brain produces a stress response. This releases a protein in the body, and I'm going to have to read this one, that's called brain-derived neuropathic factor, or BDNF for short. This BDNF has a protective but also a reparative element to your memory neurons and acts as a reset switch. This is why once you have exercised, you often feel like your mind is a little bit clearer and you eventually come a little bit more happy and feel good after training. At the same time, you get some endorphins released. That's right, these endorphins themselves, They minimize the discomfort of exercise, they block out the feeling of pain, and afterwards you have some small amounts in your body still, so you can actually feel your moods elevated and less pain after your workout. Another important thing is that overall, when we are physically active, and this can be either in a yoga class or when we go for a walk, or if we do an intense workout, there is a lot of things going on inside our brain. And in fact, the more active that we are, and not just sitting down, trying to concentrate on a task, the more activity we have in our brain. So to sum it up, your BDNF and your endorphins are both some kind of hormonal, mechanical things that happen inside your brain, and they make you feel good. And you can probably research more about them if you want to, but it's good to know that there's more than one factor at play here. So what's the lesson here? How much do you need to exercise to start getting those benefits, to start getting those chemicals released? Well, this is the most important thing to uncover. How can we trigger this response in an optimal and a lasting way? A recent study from Penn State University shed some light on this matter, and the results were actually quite surprising. They found out to be more productive, you need to work out a little bit on every given workday. It doesn't matter so much how much or what, but the important part was that this happens on a regular basis. The highest level of happiness and benefits for health, then it's most important for you to think about not trying to become a professional athlete. On the contrary, you need a much smaller amount to reach this level of happiness and productivity every day, and it has to be set regularly. They also found out that out of every session, it was the first 20 minutes of the session that matters the most. So you might not need to work out as long as you previously thought. Maybe a shorter session, 20 to 30 minutes, could do just the trick. With those 20 minutes, you get access to a lot of health benefits. You get that prolonged life. You can reduce the increased disease risk, and so on and so forth. So you can completely relax. There is no need to be locking down hours and hours of killer workouts unless you're working on something specific. If your goal is just to feel good and be a little bit more productive, all you gotta do is put in 20 minutes of some focused boost here and there throughout your day. So I do hope that this encouraged you a little bit. It sounds very nice to hear that you just need to exercise regularly, and just small amounts on a daily basis can actually do the trick. At the end of the day, much focus is required to get into the daily habit of exercising. So before we end our podcast today, I want to leave you with a couple of tips on how you can start being more consistent and get this into your routine. So let's review that. The first and most important thing is to be consistent at the time. So if you recognize a time throughout your day where you start feeling a little bit unproductive, a little bit agitated, and so on, maybe that is the time you need to put a little break in your day. Maybe you're going to put a little active break into your day. So this is the time to put in an alarm on your phone. And as soon as that alarm goes off, whether you decide you want to work out early in the morning or in the middle of the day, as soon as that training alarm goes off on your phone, you are going to put the clothes on straight away, no questions asked. The second tip is to log your exercise. We tend to underestimate what we do on a daily basis and overestimate what we can do in a month. So if you start logging your training, whether that is on a run keeping app, on your Fitbit, on your Apple Watch, or wherever, then you can review it more successfully at the end of the week. We tend to forget the good things that we do, and we highlight the bad things. So make sure to track your sessions so you don't reach the end of your week thinking that you didn't do anything, where in reality you maybe just missed one session. You can also check out one of my previous posts on how to make your own training journal if you are all about writing things down and making things super efficient in your calendar. Tip number 3 is to start small. And then when you've thought about something like that's really small, then make it even smaller so that you, even on your worst days, the most busy days and the most hectic ones of them all, you still get some exercise done. So for myself, I have a couple of different sessions that I can do. So depending on what urgent matters pop into my plate, I can always do a little bit of something. And like we said, all it needs to be is about a 20-minute of exercise. So your plan A can be to do an hour, your plan B can do 30 minutes, and plan C can be go for a 20-minute walk at lunchtime. So just make sure that you kind of think about a smaller version of your ultimate goal so that you can fit it in any day, no matter what shows up. I hope that this kind of helps you and encourages you. I hope it encourages you to start taking some small, imperfect actions. If I can leave you with one thing is that if you're feeling a little bit motivated right now, make sure to harvest that motivation and cut it into some doable actions. Make sure that action only takes you 5 minutes, so whether that is to look at your next week and schedule in some workouts, or to start researching what exercise you could do next to the office, then make sure to take that action now while you're feeling motivated. Until next time.